All right, we are live. And before we get started, I have one question for the audience. And actually, this question isn't for the audience. This is a question I get asked all the time. But I also want you guys to answer it because the one question I get asked all the time is, how do you know so many people in the industry? And the truth is, I didn't start off knowing anyone except for the people I worked with and my boss and my sister, right? But like so many of us, I just kept showing up. Conferences after conferences, trade shows after trade show, meeting after meeting. And over the past 25 years, I've learned something that has completely changed the way I think about business. The attraction industry is incredibly small. Your reputation travels long before you do, and relationships matter. Showing up matters. And in fact, one of my mentors always says that the key to success is showing up. So helping people without expecting something in return matters. Some of the biggest opportunities that I've had didn't come from proposals. It didn't come from sales. It came from conversations, sitting down with people at dinner, introducing to people who should know each other, and staying in touch long after events and trade shows. So today's guest understands that better than anyone I know. Because while we think industries are built on rides, or this industry is built on rides and technology, or incredible interactions, incredible experiences, the truth is it's built on people. And that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. Roll the intro. All right, everybody, welcome to Live with Sondra. I'm your host, Sondra Shannon, CEO of Gatemaster Technology. And before we jump in today's conversation, I just want to take a moment and ask for something personal. Today is a really special day. It's my sister Tiffany's birthday. She's my business partner. She's one of the brightest minds I know in guest experience. She's one of my favorite people. And it is also the launch of her new book, The Guest Experience Advantage. So I have one small favor to ask of you all today. We're trying to help her book get to #1 today as a birthday surprise. And if you enjoy the conversations we have on this show about leadership, hospitality, creating unforgettable guest experiences, if you've read Tiffany's articles, I'd love for you to check out her book, and the Kindle version is just 99 cents today. So we're trying to get everybody to buy today so we can bump this book up to #1. And happy birthday, Tiff. I'm so incredibly proud of you, and I can't wait to celebrate. I cannot wait to celebrate with you. Now, let's jump into today's conversation. I want to thank our sponsor, Gatemaster Technology. For more than 30 years, Gatemaster has helped attractions simplify operations, improve the guest experience, and grow revenue through technology. We've always believed the best technology doesn't replace people, it empowers them. It removes friction so operators can spend more time creating more memorable guest experiences and building stronger relationships, which makes today's conversation really a perfect conversation. I'd also want to just call out our podcast listeners. If you're listening to Live with Sondra on any of the podcast networks, thank you for listening. And if you're watching this on YouTube, don't forget to like and subscribe. We have a new Live with Sondra YouTube channel, and it really helps us continue to bring these conversations like today to the industry and to have conversations with leaders across all different parts of the attraction business. So I hope you will help us grow our YouTube page. So, without further ado, let me talk about this guest. Today's guest is someone I've had the privilege of getting to know over the years, and I've been able to go to different events, IAPA events with, and I just have really enjoyed getting to know this person. And one thing I've always admired about Emily is that she is a true connector. She doesn't just collect business cards, she builds relationships. And that's the kind of thing that lasts for years and turns partnerships into it turns relationships into partnerships, but also moves our industry forward. Emily Popovich is the director of global business development at KMI International and brings more than 2 decades of leadership experience to the attraction industry. Before joining KMI, she spent years serving in executive leadership at IAPA, giving her an incredible perspective on how attractions, suppliers, designers, manufacturers, and operators collaborate around the globe. Today, she helps build those same strategic partnerships for KMI International. And Emily, welcome to Live with Sondra.
Thank you, Sondra. I am thrilled to be here to chat with you. It's always an honor. You have a wonderful platform here, and I'm just excited to chat more today and
Thank,
share with others as well. Good to see
thank
you.
you so much. I think I saw, and I don't know why I didn't make it in the bio because I love to mention like favorite things. So before, just because we're people, right? I think I saw your favorite things, your daughters, your dog. You know
Hmm.
what else is on that list of favorite things?
Oh man, and it shifts all the time, right?
Yeah,
Of course, my daughters, who are now teenage girls, so they are my favorite things, but sometimes that is easier said than done with two teenage girls. My dog Disney, yes, who we call Diz, she is one of my favorite things. Running I should say, one of my favorite things. I have to be honest, haven't ran in like a month or two. It's just hot, and I just sort of lost steam with all of the travels, and
sure.
so I haven't. Yeah, got to be genuine. Have not totally caught up with that one. But music also is one of my all-time favorite things that just sort of keeps me grounded in any situation. And I think a lot of people can probably relate to the love of music. But yeah, I think that kind of sums it up.
I love that. Well, I always say, like I've said on this show and I've said before, like my love language is sharing music and reels.
Oh, yeah.
So if you get in my real circle, you're in trouble because I'm sending way more than I should to people. But you know what? I think sometimes that's a nice way to get to know people and get to know people through music. And we're talking about getting to know people and connecting today. And I know you've spent more than 20 years building relationships in this industry. And when you first meet somebody, so I'm going to jump in with a hard question. I don't know if it probably won't be hard for you, but when you first meet somebody, how do you know whether that relationship has the potential to become something long term and maybe even a strategic partnership?
That yeah, that is a great question. I don't think that's for me. It's not a complicated question for me. It sort of starts with curiosity before capability. So I can usually tell quickly, whether someone is actually interested in building a relationship or simply, making a sale or um, initially, what their intentions are. I'm usually pretty good at having sort of my thumb on the pulse of what the intentions are, but at the same time, for me, I like to say I am a quite genuine person. I think this comes from a place of I am not the most high energy person, despite what some may say. Um, so I don't really have that in me to play games. So are we here to actually, discuss business stuff, and or are we here to what is it that you're trying to get out of this relationship and vice versa. A lot of times those sorts of things don't really occur to me in that first connection because I just want to hear more from that person. And it's totally different in every single capacity, whether you're at a trade show, whether you're on a Zoom call, whether you're one on one on a phone call. You can usually, I feel like most people can pick up, is somebody authentic. And 99% of the time, I chalk everybody up to yes, this person is authentic. They care about engaging with me. I care about engaging with pretty much everybody I talk to. So I just want to get to know that person better. Um, in our industry, one thing I've learned, I think, over 20 years, and we can delve deeper into this, I guess, at some point, but we're an industry of dreamers. So there's people that are always coming at us. I'm sure you've experienced this as well, that are
Sure.
just, that are like, hey, I have this great idea. We're going to build a park, let's say, at the top level. We're going to build a multi-million or multi-billion dollar park, and here's the ideas, and how do you make that happen? And I always get excited at those conversations because the majority of the time, these people are coming from a real place. This is sort of, I look to, one of the most well-known people in the attractions and themed entertainment industry, of course, Walt Disney, who I'm sure said the same thing to a multitude of people and probably sounded crazy. And yet you have to have those conversations at the beginning and then sort of delve through it after the initial conversations and getting to know one another, to see, is this going to be a realistic thing? Is it not? But for me, I pretty much take all of those as this is a realistic thing. It is happening, whether this person might sound a little bit, dreamy and maybe this, I don't know, who knows what's going to happen down the line. This is where it all stems from, and that is really sort of the nature of our industry. um, and I don't want to squash that for anybody, so
I
I'm
love that.
truly, I mean, we have to have people within this small world. I mean, it is a massive multi-billion dollar global industry that we work in, which that's a whole other thing to explain to those who are not necessarily in it and think it's just the business of fun. Yes, it is, but it is a real industry. And I don't think at the start that anybody needs to be put down and said, hey, this is not happening. Yes, we have to have those serious conversations once we get to know each other better. But that's a long winded way of saying I will talk to anybody. I enjoy talking to anybody. Again, it depends on what event you're at. And if you're talking to a young professional coming into the industry or a student or, an owner already of a well, a well producing park, it doesn't really matter. It's just listening is the
Yeah.
most important thing, and treating each person in a genuine way to understand what are their goals. And I appreciate it back because I can tell, usually, I'd say 90% of the time, I can tell when people are, they're just coming to you or to me with a goal in mind. And, let's use your connections, or let's, get some info from whatever services Gate Master offers or KMI offers or whatever it is. And then we're going to move on. I can tell who those folks are, and they're very few and far between. And that, I think that's a wonderful thing within our industry, that most people are genuinely creative and trying to make this industry of ours a better place and keep dreaming, which is beautiful.
Yeah, I love that. And there's so many things that you've said just now that I want to go back to. Hopefully I can remember them all. So I'm gonna sit back here. We're gonna go through this because I 100% agree with you. So we're at Gate Master, we're like the last thing people think about when a park's gonna open
Right.
or an attraction opens. And so it's a very different we have a very different perspective of the industry, I'm sure, than you, simply because you're on that beginning part of the business where people are dreaming And I've told you I got recently brought in on project with Outlier, which was started by Chris Martin and Emmanuel Kelly. And I remember when they first came to me with this idea, and actually a friend of mine came to me and she said, "I need an amusement park we need an amusement park expert." And I'm like, "Well, that is hardly me, but you can, you know, I appreciate the introduction." And we hit it off, but I remember thinking, "Oh my God, this vision is so massive and so big and so wild that um it took a lot for me to be like, okay, well, if these guys can believe it, I can believe it." Right? So I love that you called that out because I do think that, like Walt Disney, people would say that some of these ideas are crazy, and yet all the time you're helping make that a reality for people. And that's really, really cool. The other thing that I think is interesting about what you're saying and what we've experienced too, because we can start talking to somebody and have a 8 or 10 year sales cycle. I don't want to talk about the business like that, but it's true. Somebody could be building a park that's 8 years out, 10 years out, and you still have to be in it with those people for all of that time. Right? And I'm sure you experience that too. I mean, for us, it's 8 or 10 years, sometimes even longer is a long time to wait for an opportunity. But at the same time, I just want to circle this back to it's a nice amount of time to create a relationship though. I have one of my parks 8 years before he was able to pull the trigger with any opportunity that we could do together. And he's one of my very best industry friends.
Right.
And so I think that's an important thing for us to remember in this industry. Like maybe it doesn't happen that fast, but this is why the relationships are so important. And I do believe that people who consistently show up like you and deliver, right? We have to be delivering on our promises that we make, but also be willing to help others. When they asked for an amusement park expert, like I said, I hardly am one, but I was flattered and very grateful to be brought into this project and just happy to be able to help where I can. So I think, that's where the biggest opportunities are. And I wonder if you kind of find that to be true.
I think it's interesting to hear you say, hey, I hardly am one. I mean, you've been in this world for a very long time as well. You just said, you have all these connections as well. Um, so I think we're all sort of siloing ourselves, maybe it's a woman thing, I don't know, behind the scenes saying, hey, we're, are we deserving to be here? Yes, we are. For me, more recently, and maybe this just comes with age and experience, I don't know. I do feel that, okay, I don't know, I might not know what I'm talking about when it comes to technology with Gate Master. I'm not going to be able to sit at a board table with, you and your competitor and like get into the
Sure.
details. Same with the major ride manufacturers, same with, maybe the major consultants and feasibility study companies in the industry, popcorn companies. I might not know the nitty gritty down to, the level that others do, but there's so many of us that know exactly what we're talking about. And many of us sort of who have seen the overarching ways that these relationships work behind the scenes. For me, when people come to me, I'm truly not one to say no, even if I'm behind on actual day-to-day work things or board duties or committee duties. I want to welcome everybody and help everybody and connect everybody because that is actually what it's all
Yeah.
about in this industry. And we do know what we're talking about, even if it is just connecting the dots to the right
Yes.
people, which has happened even recently. I don't know. This is where I'm bad about. I'm like, well, we're under NDA for so many things. How does that work? So what can I share? But a lot of great projects that are up and happening now. A couple of which are stateside, some of which are global. specific to our company, and folks are coming to me and on my team, outside of the team, and saying, "Hey, do you know this ride manufacturer? Do you have any insights into this ticketing company or whatnot?" Yes, I do have this information in my head, and I do know these things because I have made those
Yes.
relationships with people over the years, and it's not transactional, because again, that's not really, that's it's just not how I operate. These are people I actually care about and their companies, and I might be able to tell you, hey, here's such and such a, which I probably wouldn't say out loud. Here's such and such a person that is a wonderful person, but their company isn't the best, you know, reputation. I probably wouldn't say that. I probably would leave that out of a conversation. But generally speaking, there's so many wonderful individuals and really, really talented companies within our industry that it's important to really, really work on those relationships and from a genuine place. You never know what's actually going to happen. Some of these things might never happen, might be a waste of time. I hate to say that, but you're not sure what you're betting on. And for me, it's just the excitement of, hey, this is actually a great idea, and this could happen, and this person needs to know this person. This is a legitimate, wonderful company, and so is this one. And connecting all of those dots is really, really crucial when that actually work out in life and experience within our industry. But again, for me, I'm the one that's not going to be generally turning people down and saying, "Hey, we're not going to have a chat about that," because I think everybody might have a fantastic idea. There are some truth that it might be far fetched, and you keep those things sort of on the back burner. At least that's what I do. You don't write that off because, again, you never know. We have our own CRM system internally or in pipeline within KMI that I just help to. I mean, I've been with KMI not even a year now, but have been helping to create that system to capture all of that information and that history. And the team is consistently saying to me, "Hey, why do we have 300 leads in our pipeline?" And it's because I firmly believe that every conversation that we have with folks in the industry, there is potential. You might need to like categorize that in a different way and
Sure.
prioritize, but there's really truly potential, and you don't know when things. I mean, look at like Meow Wolf, for example. That's one of our clients. Who would have thought that this wild idea would have taken off? And look at what they're doing now. I know our team is on um, several of those projects as they're opening new places, but that is one of those things where it's like, that sounds absolutely bananas. And they took, I don't know if you know the history with Meow Wolf, but they took a bunch of words and threw them into a hat when the executive team at the start of that was coming up with it and just said, hey, we're going to choose two words and put them together. And it was meow and wolf, at least from what I read,
Wow.
which, so, right. So you have these entities that, like, who are we to sort of shut them down? I mean, clearly they have something that's working, and there's always room for improvement for everybody in all their systems. But I think that example in and of itself sort of shows, don't write anybody off. Welcome everybody. Open your arms. Have those conversations as much as you can with our
Listen,
our
I
limited
agree.
time on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that this industry, especially because we do get so many big thinkers, right? And when I say I'm not an amusement park expert, I mean, like you, I can connect people with who they need, and I can talk ticketing all day, but it's technology can get very boring for some people, um, unless you're in it. And I think sometimes a lot of what like this idea that Meow Wolf took two words, put it together, and the average person in business maybe wouldn't look at that as like the greatest strategy on how to create something, but at the same time, it turned out to be this amazing thing. And I've been to several of them, and we have one here in Denver, and it's amazing, right?
That's
It's
great.
such a great experience. My kids love it, and every time I go back, I have a different experience. I find something new. And you know what and correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was a collaboration between so many artists. So they probably didn't even know what they were going to get as an end result, but they still had vision and trust and all of these things that you're talking about with people. And I think that's a really cool example of what that is like in our industry, because
Yeah.
I mean, I seriously, like, most of the things that get created in our industry, I think defy the laws of space and time. Anyways, half the time. I mean, I wrote what was that? What's that? The star, the racers, what's the one at Epic?
Oh, I know you're at Epic.
Yeah, the race, the star. What is it? Something
Oh
racers.
my
I
gosh,
can't believe
yeah,
I can't think of it
your
right
team
now.
is still on this project. It is.
Or I'm gonna mess it up. That's why I don't.
Yeah, well, you should mess it up then because my team's on it. So
Okay, stars. Is it something Star Racers?
you're right. Something.
Maria, you gotta post it in the chat for us so
Oh
people
my
know what we're
gosh.
talking about.
Sorry, team.
Well,
Yes.
so we'll see one of the moderators. But I rode that ride last year. I rode it a few times, and the part where you're just like dancing in space with the other coaster, like I never in my wildest dreams could have thought that we could create something like that. Yet we are, right? Or
Right.
even my favorite all time favorite ride, Guardians of the Galaxy. I say it all the time on the show. It is one of my very favorite ride, probably my hands down my favorite ride.
That's,
Um,
yeah.
I just how they made all of that happen, all the working parts, like that's so fascinating to me. And it all starts with somebody's vision, right? Of what's possible. I didn't think that's where we were going with this show, but that's one of the things that you keep bringing up, and I love this
Right.
because I think at the end of the day, even if you are connecting people, even if this industry is about people, and it is definitely about people and supporting people. Stardust Racers. There it is.
Stardust Racers. Oh my gosh.
Thank
We
you.
knew that. We were just testing everybody
We
out.
knew that. We just had all sorts of rides on the
We
mind.
just wanted to see if anybody was
If
paying attention and adding that to the chat.
whoever posted that, we need to send you a live with Sondra mug.
I second
So
that.
but just really thinking about what it took to do that, the people that it took to make that happen, whoever had that idea, any of these projects that we're talking about that are big projects. I think that's the part that really blows my mind, and it's still today. Like my mind is just blown, and I've learned so much over the last few years about the creation process because of my relationship with Outlier. And oddly enough, I'm going to also call out IAPA's mentor mentee program. When I got brought on the Outlier project, my first mentee was an engineer. All right, like, and so it was such a different.
Yeah.
My first thought was, why would they give me an engineer? I know nothing about this. Well, this kid ended up mentoring me. It was
Oh,
amazing. I mean, we helped each other out,
yeah.
right? But it was an amazing thing, and that's why those relationships are so important. But I do wonder, and I just want to take this conversation to the next place about partnerships. Have you ever, or can you think of a partnership that has completely changed the direction of a project, and what made that relationship work so well?
Yeah, that is a great question. And I think that would depend for me personally on, what part of my career are we talking about? Was it the IAPA side for all those years? Was it the, design and build side for the last 4 years after I left IAPA? And then now with KMI, there's all different dynamics there
Sure.
with IAPA. You're sort of, it was I mean, that's still my family through and through. I sort of grew up with a lot of those folks. I don't know if any of them are going to be listening to this, but it's true. And that was my family outside of my own family. But it's a wonderful experience because you're, as I say to a lot of people, you're Switzerland. You're sort of in the middle. You have the owners and operators, you have the manufacturers and suppliers, and you're not to play favorites, with anybody, but you're getting to know everyone, which is, I mean, what better sort of entry into the industry for over 15 years is that, to establish those connections. So what my goals were while there were, we're bringing people to the events, we're getting sponsors for the trade shows, we're getting advertisers and whatnot. So that sort of success looks different than it does now. Fast forward to now with me at KMI, as we're an owner's rep and cost estimating and project. It's not as sexy. It is, me and a bunch of engineers, and me repping them. But the successful, you know, projects are those where we are really, really getting together those that are serious about what they're talking about, and then inclusive of their team members who are actually making things happen behind the scenes. So you want those engineers talking to the other engineers after it gets, down from sort of executive level and gets into the nitty gritty. Um, there's I think a plethora of examples of things that have gone um, right and things that have gone wrong with various developments within this industry all over the world. I think one of the most exciting is one that's actually currently happening, and maybe I just feel that way because it's currently happening, and it's all over the news, so I can share that. But like the Nate Bargatze park that I can't stop talking about to my own family because we like Nate Bargatze as a comedian. It's really exciting. Helping the Storyland team, who is lead designer on that one. I will say it's really, really interesting though to see how many more individuals have come into those weekly sort of conversations from the Storyland side, from our side, from other entities within the industry, and constantly, reaching out to various ride manufacturers or ticketing companies with suggestions. It's a very sort of open conversation moment still, which a lot of people say blue sky. It's past the blue sky point, but it's at the point where we all need to really be digging into those relationships that we've established. And we're not going to be bringing in those that we're like, well, that one's clearly not legit, which, there's always some. We're bringing in those who we've connected with over years and years and years and trust, and say, hey, I can recommend this person. And it's really, really interesting to come to the table and have those suggestions respected and put on paper, put into a budget. And eventually, this is going to be happening, and it is going to be real and delivered. So that's really exciting. I also totally forgot what the question was and if I answered it. But it is, I mean, these are things that you take from all of those dynamics of various relationships, business relationships, and those who you come to know better over the years, and sort of evaluating behind the scenes. Is this worth my time? Is this worth their time, the clients and this person's time, to actually make that connection and keep moving forward? And a lot of the time it is, and it's really exciting when that actually does eventually work out.
Well, I think one of the things that I want to call out too for the audience is it's you know, there's a lot riding on these projects, right? And sometimes things go right, sometimes things go wrong, because I'm sure when it's going wrong, it's because it's never been done before. And there's so much of this industry that is about just committing to the plan and figuring it out. That's something that I'm learning,
Yeah.
and have learned over the years. But I think it is so important that you have these relationships with people, because you need to be able to trust people when you're going in on these when you're going in on these deals and projects with people. You need to know that it can get done, and trust that if it goes wrong, they're going to fix it, that we can
Right.
get to the place we need to be. my husband always says this funny thing that I laugh. He says, business is like selling hand grenades in an alley, and you got to hope the other person doesn't pull the pin. So you need to trust that person,
That's true. Yeah.
right? Like, you have to trust the people you're working with. And, that's the thing that makes me really excited about what you guys are doing, helping guiding some of those conversations and connecting people. What you do, connecting people in general, is it kind of collapses time because you vetted them for that trust.
100%. I mean, you just said it perfectly. And I mean, that is the most valuable thing, I think, within our industry is just the reputation that you've developed for yourself. Truly. I mean, that is it. And I always find it comical when people say, every industry is, it's so relationship based. I mean, and I always use the example of like, well, throw us into a dental conference, I don't know, or insurance, something totally unrelated, like a dentistry expo or something. Let's take all of the, you know, attractions industry people and just throw us into that and see how we do. And it really, I mean, every industry comes down to those relationships. I do think ours is more so, obviously, just by the nature of it. I mean, we are in this to, I think, bring people together, bring people joy, bring families joy. Yes, it is a real business. Yes, it is lucrative, but that's why we're all in it. So of course it's relationship based. And you hit it on the head just now. I mean, that if I'm to introduce two people, there is definitely value, weighted value in that. A lot of that just comes with experience
Yes.
and getting older and making those efforts and making those reach outs and from again a genuine place. I am not on a daily basis reaching out to people that I have met throughout the last 20 years because I want to sell something. I want them to know that I might be thinking of them or whatever it might be. We have all of these different dynamics to those relationships and it really does mean something. And for me, having changed from the IAPA Switzerland side to the supplier side, when I learned quickly not everything goes perfectly well, which was a very hard learning lesson for me, truly very, very hard, because my name was behind it. And I'm behind this other entity that I chose having left IAPA, and I'm using my connections because I believe in this entity. And then when things might not be going 100% right, which generally they don't always go 100% right, it came back to me in such stress levels, like, well, how can I put my name behind something that I don't believe in? So you sort of question everything. And I think at the end of the day, that's probably an important lesson for everybody to do with whatever company they're working for, and stick to sort of those core values and come together internally. And what are we trying to do here? Out our core values, and we're going to do the best that we can do, even if it's not perfect. And if something's not perfect, we will fix it. So it took me a while to learn that, sort of in the last few years. And I'm glad with the team that I am with now, we do actually have a core values. I wish I could repeat them, but I could repeat them. It's the biggest one to me is do the right thing,
Yeah.
to work as a team. And I think over 20 plus years, you realize, even though that might sound cheesy at the start of your career, that is a very, very crucial thing, because truly, like you, Sondra, your reputation, a ridiculous amount of people too. They're not going to come to you if they're not thinking Sondra Shannon is not doing the right thing and engaging her team. And that's just an ethical, wonderful person. People are not going to be calling you up. So I think just for anybody serious within our industry who's going to be successful, you've got to be genuine. Um, you know, you've got to be real. If something goes wrong, you've got to address it, and fix it somehow as best you can. and you just always have to do the right thing, and that's going to lead to those continued great relationships that we have with one another in the industry. But the second you sort of sway from that, people can sniff that out,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense. And
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I think you brought up something I've not talked a lot about on this show with regards to mission. At Gatemaster, our mission is very simple. And actually we all have these like mats in our on our desk so I can read it. But
yeah,
to help every attraction massively succeed, right? And it's a longer mission than that. But at the end of the day, when I really think about well, when I do interviews with teams or people, I mean, at the end of the day, I just want to do cool stuff with cool people, right?
yeah,
And it's not cool when I think about the values that we have in our company. It's not cool if you're not aligned with the project or disciplined. It's not cool if you're not results oriented or inspirational is one of our values. It's not cool if you're not transparent. And it's not cool if you're not accountable. And the reason I'm saying all these things is because you kind of said, like, when you're in the trenches with people on a project and things are going wrong, you don't want that person you're working with to not be accountable or
right,
disciplined or inspirational. Because sometimes, I remember being in a ticket booth one time in the middle of winter. I'm freezing, right? I'm thinking, what am I doing here? Because we're setting up for this next season, right? And I had an inspirational team around me. So we got through it and we did the job. We got it done in these like horrible conditions. And so when I think about values too, because you said it's great to have a company that has values because you can go back to them. You can hire and fire people that at least for me, based on those things. Like it makes it very black and white for me. Like if you're not going to be accountable, you're not cool people,
right,
right? Because ultimately that's what I want to do is just do cool stuff. Like you in the very beginning of the show, you said we're like defying gravity with some of these ideas that people come to us with, right?
right. One of my favorite stories is one of my previous bosses at I won't say his name, though I'm sure he would love it. At IAPA when I first started, who then went on to a multitude of other great industry companies after he left, was like, "Hey, I'm going to design a roller coaster because that's what we do in this industry." And he brought it to a bunch of engineers within our industry, and they're like, "You would die. You would just die on that ride. Like that's not physically possible." And I will never forget that because we're all just just dying laughing. Like he was really serious about it, but yeah, his dream was squashed. But they said it very respectfully, and he ended up working for some of these manufacturers. They did not design any sort of ride like that, but yeah, the relationships truly are everything. And as you said, just the transparency is absolutely everything. And we're going to keep dreaming up stuff, and when it goes right, great, which is a lot of the time. When it doesn't, we need to own it, every single one of us
Yes.
in the process. And I think as a whole, from what I've seen within our industry, that's sort of the underlying rule. We get it. It doesn't, come as naturally to some, I guess, as it might to me to connect with people, because we have a lot of, the engineer minds in our industry who just don't really want to talk to anybody, which is for KMI. That's why they hired me, because they're like, we're a bunch of engineers. Can you just, do the human side of things? That's dumbing it down. But I think at the end of the day, we really need to sort of recognize how important that factor really is, and to stay authentic, to stay transparent, to own the mistakes, and to keep, having these big ideas, even when they don't happen. And in all these world circumstances we've been through in the past 20 years in our careers. I mean, we've been through recessions, we've been through COVID, um, which is a whole other podcast, I'm sure,
Yeah.
for you. And coming out of that, this is not an industry that's going away by any means, and it's certainly not one that needs to be quieted down or dumbed down, or that idea is a terrible idea. This is not That's not the world that we live in. There needs to constantly be that sort of raising up of everybody else, and at the center of every attraction within our industry. I mean, it's still a human experience, so we need to sort of come back to that, I feel.
Yeah, and I and we have to wrap up here in just a second, but I really loved what you said about owning things, right? When I used to travel for a lot of the women tech stages and speak, that was like one of the questions that would come up a lot, especially from young engineers and technicians. And it was like, and and for me, it is owning the problem, the solution. Like it's a very powerful position to be in
Mhm.
our industry and in business. To not be afraid of that. Like I hope that's something that people hear from this conversation and from what you said there. But
Right.
also, I mean, this has just been gold. And the chat's been going off. And I have to just call out, because we're at the end of the show, that this was like the most RSVPs we've ever had for a show. We've
Yay.
had some great compliments that have come in on our chats today. But I knew that a show with two baddies would go over really well today. So, and we need more of that. I mean, there's a lot of baddies in our industry. We need we
And
need to be
I
connected.
think there's something to be said about the focus on women lately, which is fantastic, and we need to continue that on. But also, at the end of the day, like, we're humans, we are business
Yes.
leaders, and so there's also that side of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be, hey, just there's two baddies women who are speaking. I mean, we're humans, and we've earned our seat at the
Yeah.
table.
And I've had a lot of baddies on this show, but I certainly appreciate
Yeah.
you being here today and joining me and for all that you shared today. I think this was a lot of great information, and I was really looking forward to this conversation. One, because I do have to say one more thing, and we're going over time, so thank you for everybody who's staying and listening. But I remember when I first got to know you. You were at an IAPA event I couldn't go to. I think it was like a North American summit. I was really sad that I didn't get to go. For whatever reason, I couldn't go to those because if you know me, I like the summits. I like to go to the fun stuff. And you left
Yeah.
me a voice message, and it just like lit me up. And so, it made me feel good that I wasn't there because I was having FOMO, but also like I don't know if you even know that that meant so much to me. So I really appreciate it. It was years ago. It was a voice message on LinkedIn too. It was
I
like,
don't.
this is awesome. Like I love her. And that's when I knew that I wanted to be your friend. So I really appreciate you taking the time today to be here for me and this audience and sharing your insights and all the
Thank you
loveliness
so
that is you.
I appreciate it back, and I would love to hear if you kept that voicemail, because it was probably one of the FEC summits or whatever.
I'll go
But
back. I'll go back in
yes,
my messages and see if I can find it because I think it was on LinkedIn, which was where I was like, "Oh wow, this is awesome! I didn't even
interesting.
know you could do that." But
Yeah,
it
I
was
find
it
it.
was fun, and I remember that, and it stuck with me. So you are a person that is memorable, and yeah, thank you for helping other
Thank
people
you.
figure out how to navigate this. So before I let you go, how can people get a
Yeah.
hold of you if they enjoyed this conversation?
Oh my gosh. Well, most know that they can literally, I shouldn't say this out loud, but it is what it is. I mean, just send me an email, send me a LinkedIn message. I am not somebody that's going to ignore them. I get a billion a day, and I do have to actually do my real job and then go, Mom. But I respond to every single one. And if anybody has questions about any part of the industry, I am here for it. Maybe there will get to a point, I don't know, where, the capacity is not there. And then you hire a mini Emily, or, somebody to help manage us. But I think it's so, so important. And I will take every call, email, LinkedIn message. I will respond. So,
Well, thank you so
yeah.
much. And we'll make sure that people know how to connect with you in our follow ups to the show. But also, if you're watching this on LinkedIn, I think we do have you listed as a speaker on the show. So that'll take them right to your LinkedIn page. Thank you again for being here.
Thank you for having me. This was
Yeah,
great.
awesome.
Really, really wonderful. And thank you for having this platform. I think it's fantastic. And
Thank you. Well, I'll see you real soon.
yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sondra. Thanks, everybody.
So I really love this conversation, not only because I think the person who was on the show today is amazing, but I think having conversations about how the relationships are what are going to move this industry forward. And for me, that's one of the reasons I love business so much. I love people. If you can't tell, this is one of the reasons I love doing this show. I love meeting people. I love hearing their ideas and learning from them. I mean, okay, yeah, I can confidently say I am not an expert at everything because I do feel like there's so much that I have to learn. And this is what makes doing the show so special to me, because I get to learn from people like Emily and all the guests that I've had. I think my team told me I hit like 110 shows recently, and that just blew my mind because it's 110 times I've had the opportunity to grow. And that is because of people. So it's because of all of you. So thank you for being here, watching the show. And I just have to make one quick shout out again for Gatemaster. We've spent more than 30 years building technology for attractions. And one thing we've learned is this: technology doesn't build great attractions, people do. Technology simply helps people do what they do even better. And whether you're running a family entertainment center, a water park, a museum, or a destination location, the best businesses are built on trust, relationships, and creating experiences that people will never forget. Thank you for joining us on another live with Sondra. And if you've enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, share this episode with someone in the industry. And if you are watching a previous episode or want to watch previous episodes of Live with Sondra or apply to be a guest, you can do that on livewithsondra.com. I'm Sondra Shannon, and this is Live.